Let's take a look at another president, though. President Donald John Trump. Look at this. I got 4 numbers across for you on this screen here.
Holy Toledo.
Bruh.
Donald Trump's approval ratings are in the dumpster. It's a dumpster fire. I'm Harry Emden.
Are all second-term lows for the given pollster. What are we talking about? AP Newark, 26 points below water. NBC, 22 points below water. Yahoo YouGov, 20 points below water. Quinnipiac, 19 points below water. So we're ranging from negative 19 points all the way to negative 26 points. You know, Kate, there's this question that folks keep asking, where is the floor for Donald Trump? And I'm not sure there is a floor, because if there is one, Donald Trump, at least in term number 2, has just fallen through it to another low level.
How does this compare to this first term, and how does this compare with Joe Biden?
Okay, so we look at these numbers right here. One of the things that Donald Trump had been arguing, his proponents have been arguing, oh, you know what, he's doing better than he was doing in term number 1. No longer is that the case. What are we talking about here? Okay, net approval rating at this point in the term. Look at this. 22 points below water on average when you average all the polls.
Gallup stopped measuring the COVID strat. I know. After 88 years, Gallup has decided to no longer poll the presidential approval ratings, which is crazy. And there's a reason for that, because, dear leader, we are basically taking on all of the excesses of our ideological enemies, straight up. People that we have, things that countries that we have long considered to be enemies of the United States of America, and some of their excesses we have now adopted. Things that we suspect them of doing, we have started doing here in the United States of America, straight up. Yes, it is an indication that the empire is collapsing. Peter Baker of the New York Times says, this is a huge loss for journalists and others who follow politics. Gallup has been the top source for presidential approval since FDR, and particularly valuable because of that historical context with apples to apples numbers that allow us to make comparisons and see patterns. After 88 years, Gallup has decided to hit the COVID strat. We will no longer calculate the presidential approval. We will no longer track the presidential approval, because if you don't track it, then it's fine. Everything is fine, actually, and the situation is better. The only reason why the numbers are so high is because we're tracking them.
From the last slide, that is actually lower. That is lower than he was at this point in term number 1, when he was 17 points below water. So he's doing 5 points worse, and he's doing way worse than Joe Biden was doing at this point in his term number 1, when he was 13 points below water. So the bottom line is this: Donald Trump is setting new records for himself in term number 2, setting new records for himself compared to where he was at this point in term number 1, and he's doing worse than Joe Biden, which is, of course, the comparison that Donald Trump does not want to be, because we all know what happened to Joe Biden. His party lost the House in term number 1, that in midterm elections, and of course, Joe Biden was not reelected to another term. At this point, the numbers, no bueno for the president of the United States.
What's driving this that you're seeing right now?
Okay, Kate. You know what? This is the segment we have done it over and over and over again because he keeps setting new lows for himself. What are we talking about? Well, we're talking about independence. We're talking about independence. When you lose the center of the electorate, you lose the American people. Trump's net approval rating among independents, at this point, you go back term number 1, he was 17 points below water. Now, according to Quinnipiac, he is 27 points below water. I don't understand how this works out well for the president of the United States. When you are 27 points below water, underwater, with the center of the electorate, with independents, you lose, your party loses. I've made the comparisons before, oh, he's more underwater than Greg Louganis. I've made the comparisons with all those different divers. And the bottom line is this: you can continue to make those, but over time, when you keep making those same comparisons, they run a little bit old. But at this point, I don't really know who to even compare Donald Trump to, because he's just so low, and he's so low with the center of the electorate.
261 days to go. Yes, the midterms may seem far off, but they are starting to dominate the dynamics here in Washington and are fresh on President Trump's mind. As the GOP now confronts a daunting political environment, Trump is taking his pitch to the nation's battleground, even before U.S. troops in North Carolina, where he urged them to vote Republican.
Biden, who is the worst president in the history of our country. 0 illegal aliens have been admitted into the United States, and that's done by the radical left. Michael, will you come here for a second, please? He's running for the Senate, and if he gets in, you're going to be taken care of. If he doesn't get in, we're going to be stripping the military like they always do, the Democrats. When I heard they were taking the name Fort Bragg off, I said, no, they're kidding.
Again, always immaterial nonsense, always aesthetics nonsense. How much longer will this nonsense work? Because for the time being, when he first came into office, everyone's like, hell yeah, we're winning. It's awesome. It's like we're winning together, right? Anti-woke is on top. But he got a sequence of those executive orders in action, and nothing actually changed for the better. So there's only so much you can do in terms of culture war issues, in terms of advancing the culture war agenda, until people realize, wait a minute, my pocketbook is still hurting. It's not helping. Like, groceries are still expensive. The electricity bill has skyrocketed. What the fuck are we doing this for? I'm not winning in this process. Oh, you named the Gulf of Mexico to Gulf of America? I don't give a fuck, dude. And even in the absence of the Democratic Party presenting said alternative loudly and proudly, engaging in politics from the perspective of class and saying, we're going to do class first politics, we're going to do class first politics. In the absence of the Democrats doing that, people still realize that this shit is not working. That's it. There's a reason why he has to turn around and say, affordability is a hoax. It's a hoax. It's a Democrat hoax. Why does he have to do that? He has to do that because affordability is a real issue, okay?
They did. They took the name off. We got it back very quickly, but they took it off. And if we don't win the midterms, they'll take it off again. It's another reason you have to vote for us, because they'll change it back to whatever it might be.
And this weekend, Trump also renewed his calls to place new restrictions on voting as he started to see some fraying within his coalition, all while possible 2028 contenders, including Secretary of State Marco Rubio, flocked to Europe this weekend where they're getting some attention. So look, Trump is, of course, as he does, demand total unity as we head into this very daunting stretch for the GOP. His party wants him to focus on issue number one, the economy. And we've seen time and time again Trump trip on his own message or create distractions and do things that are causing significant pushback within the ranks. Just this past week, we saw the Justice Department try and fail to indict 6 House Democrats. A lot of Republicans uncomfortable with that. How he's handled these ICE surges, particularly in Minneapolis in recent weeks, has caused pushback among Republicans, nervous about going too far. Of course, that racist video of the Obamas that he later was forced to delete, though did not admit a mistake. Phil, how is this playing as we head into the midterms with his party?
Not great. I think, and Monty, honestly, like I watch you work the halls every single week, and it's always a really good barometer of when do we hit self-preservation mode for members of Congress. And I think that as powerful as Trump's grip on the party has been, and I think we should all be very careful to pronounce some grand break or diminishment of his authority over the Republican Party and over his members, which has been so kind of ironclad over the course of the last 13 months. The moment where Republican lawmakers, particularly frontline Republican lawmakers, start looking around and say, if I need to actually win in November, I need to start creating some distance. Not dramatic scale of distance that we've seen perhaps in past administrations, but I think what we've seen over the course of the last couple of weeks, but in particular this week as well, is some of those members saying there are opportunities for me to break. The repercussions of that from Trump's Truth Social posts are not, in the kind of cost-benefit analysis, bad enough for me to not want to risk this, and therefore I'm going to move forward. Is it a grand kind of fracturing of the party?
No, it's never going to be a grand fracturing of the party. They're never going to fucking fracture. They have to hold on to Donald Trump. Donald Trump is a connective tissue, okay? Without Donald Trump, they are absolutely cooked. They have to circle around the dear leader and offer him unlimited praise because he is the glue that holds the base together. The problem is there's nothing that they can do in the absence of a totally unique and different vision that looks at this system of unlimited exploitation that is fucking over the working class and say, we have to find something entirely different to do here. We have to build a robust industrial base. We have to bring back manufacturing into the country, which Donald Trump is saying he wants to do, but he's not actually following through on because he wasn't elected into power to do that. He was elected into power to defend the billionaire cabal. In the absence of socialism or an alternative vision or even moving into the direction of social democracy, which is not going to do because it undermines the interests of capital, and no Republicans are ever going to do that. No Democrat is really ever going to do that either. They're out of options. He has to keep hitting the same culture war buttons over and over again. All it peters out into is this. That was so nasty that it literally, I felt like I could smell it. Like, that's one of those things that's I'm never going to hit that button ever again. Yeah, that was unacceptable, and I apologize for that one. He knows that his popularity is waning, and they have to maintain the appearances that they still have this mandate, and obviously if the midterms are coming around, and he's going to fucking destroy this movement, and Democrats, regardless of how shittily they perform, are still probably going to make significant gains. And I do think that it's not as... my fear still right now in the midterms, the Democrats are going to underperform if they keep up this if they keep up this like bullshit, wishy-washy, business as usual approach, hoping to eat at the gains that they make off of like the overall resentment the population feels towards the Republicans in power. They're not going to do as well as people think they are. Okay. But they probably still will make modest gains. And Trump is fearful of that because it undermines the agenda. It undermines the agenda because Donald Trump has to maintain this idea that he is super popular. Everybody loves him. Things like the Gallup poll no longer, after 88 years, no longer covering the presidential approval ratings is helpful for Trump's ambitions here. This, paired up with the fact that the Democrats are not giving them something to vote for, even in the fucking midterms, is going to cause issues in the Democratic Party's performance of the midterms. That's why I'm saying they're probably going to have, if they don't change their attitude from this point on until the midterms, you will see something very different than the expectation.